let it be determined, we do have a quorum, but we're waiting on one to show up. Let's skip down to the public hearing. Item 4, public hearing on request by owner of Lot 18, Block 9, Box Canyon Estates, requesting a 15-foot variance, which would leave a 10-foot front line setback and a 3-foot variance, which would leave 2-foot side and back setback. Wood. Okay. Did I read that right?
Yes, sir.
2-foot side and back setback. Okay. Do we have a plat or something?
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing here?
Okay. This owner of lot number 18 is the same owner.
He owns all of it.
Yes. And in the original plat, there is a 10-feet building setback line.
Mm-hmm.
And this is from 1966. And the Amistad land use zoning was adopted in 1985. So this is prior to that. All of these plats are using the 10-feet setback.
They're already
line.
doing that.
Yes. And even the surrounding buildings that is the same owner,
Mm-hmm.
they are using the
The 10-foot.
10. Yes.
But the Amistad zoning requires a
25.
25-foot setback.
But that's way after this.
Okay.
It's 1966 and the land use is from 1985. So this owner already built something. They have a retaining wall and they have a landfill for the building.
So they already started construction.
Yes, on the retaining walls, yes. So after that, they were required to.
Did they get a permit to start the construction?
No.
No.
Doesn't our rules require a double charge for a permit? If they start before they have a permit?
Yeah. And the thing is that he brought some plans, just simple plans, and the building is gonna be within the setback. It's just a carport. It's not the building itself. So, but the thing is that the lots here are really, really small. They're
Yeah, you don't have enough
68
room.
by 40, so if you leave them with 25 setback, you're living with nothing. That's why they are requesting, and they have all the surrounding buildings.
But when
They
it was,
have
but when it was
10 feet.
first platted, it was a 10-foot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all he's asking to go back to whatever it was platted with.
1966, this is the original plan, and we are over here for this one. So this is a 10-feet setback line.
So my question would be, everything around there is 10-foot. When it was platted, it was a 10-foot. Other buildings that are already there are at 10-foot.
Most of them, yes.
We probably need to relook at that 25-foot setback and the rules at some point. If anybody wants to speak for or against?
And how close is the carport to the property line?
10 feet.
It's gonna be 10 feet?
So actually, it's the carport, it's not the actual building. The building sits back to 25.
But the carport's got,
Roof on it.
it's
Yes.
got a roof.
Yep.
But they are using these retaining walls and that matter. And they're asking for 3 feet on the sides too.
A 3-foot setback on the sides?
And then on the back.
What does this plaque say on the sides and on the back?
Nothing on the
Nothing at all.
sides. And in this particular block, no. In other blocks, they're saying 10 feet setback line.
But on this block, when
No.
it was platted, it said nothing.
No, because of the small lots, I guess. I mean, this is a 40 by 68. This is a really small lot.
He owns all of them,
It's Sam Thompson.
but he owns the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't he just plat it all into one lot? It's a lot easier. Yeah.
So he did
This is it.
pull a building
This is
permit,
the, there are 5 lots.
and
All he has is concrete flat, he hasn't done anything else.
Well, I don't know.
Retaining walls.
Yeah, the retaining walls, and I don't know if y'all picked up on, you know, the county, y'all been requesting that when they pull a building permit, that they also have their septic, design. Concern I'm starting to have now is, where's this gonna
is that
go?
be?
If you give them a variance and give them a building
You
permit,
can put it on the other line.
which he can do that,
There's already a home.
okay, but what's he gonna do with this? Where's this sewage, where's this gonna go?
Is that a sewer, or is that just a runoff?
And
Well, it looks like it's going around the back of that pipe that's sticking out.
yeah, it looks like it's tied in right there, and it's going downhill. All I'm getting at is, there's a point that
Just a lot of pictures. of
if you
it.
give him a building permit, and he doesn't have a septic permit or design to where this is going, we're gonna run across, we did once before at, Upper San Pedro. They wound up getting a building permit, and the lot was too small, and then we had to get a variance for the septic system.
Yeah, and on that one lot, he has no room.
Yeah, that lot is just for that.
Which lot is this one here?
It's number 18, this one here, sir.
So the building he's putting in is
There,
this building?
They're attaching to, oh, it's not attached, it's separated.
Yeah, but we're gonna, if he's gonna have the building on one lot and a septic on another lot, you're gonna have to get a waiver that he can't sell any of those lots.
yeah, affidavit of fact,
Yeah.
$10.
It'd be a lot easier if you just flat all that into one further lot.
Which I don't have a problem with the 10-foot setback, I don't have a problem with putting the septic halfway and stuff over here, as long as he's got the affidavit of fact in place.
He has an existing house?
Yes,
Well, where's the septic for that house?
on that lot.
Which lot?
House lot?
Okay.
No.
No, it's not shown there.
It'd be small.
This is a water well.
Yeah.
He's got 150, there's a 150-foot radius, he can't put anything around that water well.
I just know that he already has a home out there, it's already set up. He's come in the past for other,
I understand that, but
Variance.
where the hell is the septic tank? Because he's got a building here, 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 here. Well, then I'm assuming this is a, I don't know what this is. This is a building, this is a building, this is a building, this is a building, and this is a,
it's a storage, and then he's gonna build another building on lot 18.
where the hell is the septic tank? There's no room.
And one of those lots, I just don't know which.
That, where's the proposed building on that plan?
Here.
It's on lot 18.
He's adding on top of that, but he's putting, here's his water well. I guess he's taking this metal storage completely out and putting the building in there, right? This is the metal storage.
This is it
the
right
water
here.
well.
That's what that looks like, what you're talking about. There's that little,
So he's adding to the
that's the
side.
wells, and it looks like it's going towards the back.
Do you have to have a setback on that water well from the building?
From what I understand, the water wells, it's 50 feet from property lines,
But that,
and they can get a variance.
but it's
on-
property line, not building.
Correct. As far as septic, it used to be 150, it is 150 for,
Commercial?
commercial, residential, it's only 100 feet, the tank can be within 50 feet of the well. I'm trying to find a house
You ain't
here.
got 50 feet.
No.
The tank can be 50 feet from the well, and the drain field or spray area's gotta be 100 feet from the well,
Aerobic?
unless
I don't know if it's-
the well's
Just
pressure
another
cemented
bathroom
to 100
in the
feet.
back.
For every 2 feet vertical, you get 1 feet horizontal.
Another shop.
I'm trying to find it here.
So I was just trying to figure out, Billy was talking about this pipe,
Yeah.
or it looks
Like
like
I
it
said,
tees in,
It tees in.
Just figure it,
and I'm wondering if he's teeing it in with a plan for a future bathroom.
Well,
That
you know
pipe
he is.
sticking up in the ground, it's that white pipe sticking up, what is that? Is that, those
I
are just
think-
pole?
I
Yeah,
think
those
so.
are just upright poles.
Upright
But you
poles.
see, this
Yeah.
comes up and then it
Already
ties
hooking into
in,
something.
it goes into this slab. I don't know where the hell it goes, but it goes into that
you
slab.
get the drainage,
I don't know. I don't know if it's drainage or septic or
you
future
just
septic.
put a hole
or-
in the wall and let it drain out there.
I don't know what his plan is.
Not septic.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just talking about
Yeah.
rainwater runoff.
Everybody looked at you.
Oh, no, we have those already, so.
That's where the Park Service comes in and says, hey, that green streak going down, that's where they took the spray head off and put a faucet and run a hose down and run the aerobic to the lake, yeah, okay.
But the bass are bigger right there.
Bigger worms in there, man.
Yeah, we need to kind of verify what this is,
Mhm.
this line.
That's what, okay.
Well, let's do this.
Maybe you just put that on top of the
Yeah.
septic system.
I'll, close the public hearing. And then we'll,
I guess the question is, for one, I've got one question, exactly where's the building going on that other lot? On that?
Here, this is the drawing.
Okay, on lot 18.
this is this building here,
Mm-hmm.
this little storage building.
And this is the building that is.
But once you put that building up now, where's the septic system?
Where
Where's the
does it-
water?
I will have to
now?
check it out.
Wind up.
That, you just brought that up, so I mean,
Yeah, no, I
Mitch is
mean,
back in here.
because if this is the proposed,
Which sits
it
right
takes,
here
it takes up everything.
on this
Doesn't have
lot.
anything on file?
And then
Not for now.
the only thing left he has is a little hole right here, which I sure is not.
Behind the water?
This, I'm assuming is a backyard. I don't know what this is.
is he going to put in a septic system there? Is he going to add anything to it?
That was part of the reason y'all do, the county does building permits prior, because then they ask for the design of the septic and what they're gonna do. And of course, then if they falsify, oh, I'm not putting in the bathroom, and later, when y'all do your, what's that, code?
Yeah, but he already has a septic.
Somewhere out there.
And I don't.
This is in use. All these
Yeah,
buildings are
but
in
he has
use.
a septic somewhere, and if he's building this building on top of that septic, that's gonna be a huge problem.
So can we just, give him a list of questions before we take any action on this?
Yeah,
Yeah, if y'all can go back and figure out.
Yes, sir.
You need to mark in where the septic is and all those
course.
pieces, and then we can make a
You
decision.
want to recess this meeting?
Well, we can table this one item.
Or table it?
Yeah, we can table this. I'll make a motion to table until some of the questions that we've asked right now as far as septic system, where it's at, exact location of building have been answered, and if there is,
Let me
gonna be
get,
anything in this one.
let me get to number 5, where we're actually doing
We
it.
have to do it.
Okay, let's move to number 5, for discussion, possible action to approve or deny request for variance of owner lot 18, block 9, Bucks Canyon Estates for the 15-foot front line and 3-foot side and back variance. I'll entertain a motion on that.
Let me start all over.
just,
Just entertain
Make a motion to table.
table it.
Yeah, you gonna do it? You want me
Yeah,
to-
go ahead.
Make a motion to table, and for the questions that were just asked to be answered, where the septic system is that already exists, if there's one that exists, and if there's going to be any restrooms or anything in this building that's gonna be built.
And
Go ahead.
And one of the things that if he, now that he's got to get a building permit, he needs not only answer that, but I would think also do the affidavit of fact to amend the lots together. Because
Okay, I'll add that to my motion.
If the septic is on another lot.
Well, it doesn't matter
Or
what
if
he
the
says.
building- yeah.
It's gonna be on another lot. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
it just is what it is.
I'll just add that to my
Yep.
motion.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And check I think if they start construction without a building permit, it doubles the building permit fees.
Yeah, I know it does on
Yeah.
septic.
I don't remember on the building permit part, it doesn't. Okay. Let's go back to item 3, approval of minutes from the previous meeting.
So,
Have a motion? Have a second?
Second. Billy seconded.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're going to item 6. For discussion, possible action or request on Texas Department of Transportation driveway permits before a plat is approved. This is put on here, Abner's brought it up. We do require, before we approve a plat, that we have a TxDOT driveway permit. Abner wanted to revisit it, so
Yes, okay. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Alvaro Martinez, and I'm here just trying to explain to you all about these driveway permits. Whenever we have a defined use, and we already have the plans for the lot, it's very easy for us to get a driveway permit. It's going to be the commercial, residential, ranch entrance, and the standards are already set. When we have the situation where we have an area that nobody knows what is going to be there, like commercial or multiple family or whatever, then whatever permit that may be obtained may change, creating a double cost for the construction of the driveway. That's my only concern. At this point, we have on the table a replat for some lots next to what's the name of the place? Imperios Ballroom. And those are going to be 4 lots that could be commercial or residential. And those 4 lots, as a maximum, we may get 2 permits for those 4 lots. And usually, or in this case, two lots will share 1 access. But the trouble that we have is that at this point, we don't know what may the buyers of these lots want to build in there. So that's our only
What happens if
reservation.
you put the subdivision in, you don't have a driveway permit, you go to TxDOT and they deny the driveway permit?
Well, they have to give you access.
They only
But
have to-
but you have to comply with whatever is being built. We have been working on, for example, with Justin Burke. He got a new ranch entrance, and that's it. They were working already, getting in and out the trucks for the cattle and all of that. And I mean, they always give you access. The thing is, what type of driveway we are going to use. Are they going to use?
There's not a zone already?
Yeah,
Yes.
well, and that's something I've dealt with some of this a little bit. But, like the 4 lots, and I don't know which ones they are, how wide they are.
Yes.
But here, it says if posted speed limits 55 above, they gotta be at least 425 feet apart.
Mhm.
So, trying to figure out, like I said, the highway department, you say they have to give you access.
Yes.
But if the lots are a lot narrower where they can't get the 425,
Okay, my mistake, I didn't bring a copy of the plan.
Oh,
This one of the ones we already looked at.
I'm not sure.
No.
No, we looked at one 2 meetings ago, right?
For example, in this case, we are going to be 600 feet
Oh, okay.
separated from here.
Number 7, 8, I think. No, it's 8.
Are you gonna ask for access off of El
Here.
Lago Camino?
And here. Well, possibly not.
Yes,
This
I'm-
will, let me put it this way, we may not even need a driveway permit if the same people buy 2 lots, because they may access through El Lago Camino.
Mhm.
That's another
Yeah, I'm not
consideration.
gonna allow you to access to El Lago Camino,
No?
not at that location.
Okay, well, we will have to have a Texas permit, but the separation will be 625 feet.
In this case, it works, but not every case is the same.
Yes.
And my concern is we approve a plat without a designated driveway, you're gonna find yourself at some point in a landlocked. We went through this with Lake Ridge, and it was a nightmare.
Look at this one.
Yes, that was landlocked.
Yes.
Where's this road? And what lot is this? Is this in Perla?
This is Lot C.
Okay.
This is, yes.
That's-
This is Imperius.
Okay, that's the party,
Yes, a
party.
place.
And this road, is that road there?
Nope.
No,
No. Okay.
they are accessing.
They're accessing
Through
right here.
here.
Okay,
Yes,
now,
yes,
it gives me a better idea of exactly.
See, they got a driveway permit here.
Mhm.
This road
Was never built.
was never built, which means you're gonna ask for another driveway permit at this point if you do something with this,
Because,
and they're not going to give you a driveway permit.
well, on this one, the access is further down. This is another,
No, I understand, but if somebody decides to take that lot and subdivide it and wants access off the highway,
they are not going to get it. At this point, we're in good shape with this, with these two, but it's up to you.
Okay,
And-
you said with these two, you lost me. So you're doing this one,
No,
right?
No, he took that one.
No.
Should be gone.
this was present in the previous, whenever we got lots A, B, and C, this was a 40 by 50 access easement.
This is the original.
Hold on a minute, let me do both of these the same thing. Item 6 and item 8. Discussion and possible action for replat, establishing lot 1A, 2A, 1B, 2B out of lots A and B, Stone Lake Commercial Subdivision. I don't know if we can talk about both things at the same time.
Mhm. Yes, this was the original. And it was a chair entrance back then. In this case, we still have that in here, that can be,
Shared.
canceled,
Canceled
or canceled or whatever.
Okay.
I mean, depends on the way you,
Well,
if you-
they still have to have an access, right?
yes.
No, you have to-
So how are you getting to this lot and that lot?
That's the situation, that is like, Commissioner Nettleton is telling us. An access to here, because it's very close, won't be a good idea. It's better to have here.
Because you've got a medium here, you got
Yes.
mailboxes here.
Yes.
To access this with if this is a commercial and you're bringing trucks, it's not gonna work.
It's not
So
going to
I'm not
work.
gonna allow an access across here. They're gonna have to come in off Highway 90. It won't work.
It's best to chair here and cancel this one.
But this won't work here, because you've got 319 feet and you got 50 feet wide. It says 425 feet from the other driveway. How far is it from that driveway?
About that much.
The problem's gonna be is this road is never gonna get a driveway.
Well, I understand that.
You'll have one here, you'll have one here, and you'll have one here, but you'll never be able to access that road.
Exactly, but how far is it from this driveway to there?
Yes.
Because it's gotta be
No,
425
I
feet.
understand.
And so we're already,
Yes.
we're 50 feet plus 320.
Yeah,
60
360.
foot short.
Yes.
So we got, so is that driveway 60 feet? What's the,
This driveway is about 40 feet from here. But then that's
it
the
doesn't-
list of the situation. Suppose, TxDOT give us, say, okay, let's go 450 feet. Okay. It's here instead of right here. It doesn't
Okay.
matter. They still share it. And over here, we have 600 feet.
The way this works, so that everybody understands, and I understand what we're trying to do here, is if we approve the plat, it forces TxDOT to give you a driveway permit. That's exactly what we're doing. We're circumventing the driveway permit process by approving a plat, which then forces TxDOT to give you access. That's what this whole thing's about, at the end of the day. That's exactly what it is. If we approve the plat without designated driveways, then TxDOT is gonna be forced to give you driveways. Now, what they may do is they may come in here and say, you know what, we ain't gonna do it. You're gonna put one here and you're gonna build a road down there.
that's what they did with Lake Ridge.
That's exactly what they did with Lake
Exactly.
Ridge.
And
By
that-
not getting it in advance, they may end up forcing the developer to put a single and then build a road down both sides.
At the landowner's cost.
The rules that we have right now, we require a
Access
driveway
first?
permit first.
Yes.
Is that right?
Access, yes, so that they can
I'm
verify
just-
that they, yeah. yes.
Right? The rules that are stated now, we require the driveway permit first. And I guess the
There is-
first one is required, would be to sort of waive that, do away with that. If the rules state that we need a driveway permit first, then we need a driveway permit first.
Does TxDOT not want to give one?
We haven't gone
No,
to
we
that.
haven't approached
Haven't gone to
TxDOT.
that.
Let me put this way, I'm here representing my client, and I have just to request it. This is a presentation, this is a request, you can go in favor or against. That's it, I mean,
What I
I'm not
would,
investing.
All we can do is make a recommendation to Commissioners Court.
I would make a motion
because the court's the
Will
one.
you entertain a motion?
Yeah, I'll entertain a motion.
I will entertain a motion that, this thing be replatted and showing the entrances that have already been permitted by Textile. And if it needs to go to Commissioners Court for them to make the decision, then we could put it on.
Yeah, if the court wants to waive the permit process in advance, but
I would make a motion that it be replatted with the permits that are approved by Textile.
so they need to get a permit. Do I have a second?
Oh, yeah. Because that's rules that are already set in place, so.
And if he doesn't like our decision, you can always take it to Commissioners.
Yes, you can waive it, yes, you can appeal to the Commissioner's Court. Okay, I have a motion and a second. That's on item 8, right?
Item 8,
Yeah.
item 6 we did.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. If y'all want to come back to Commissioner's Court, the other one, because we require it in and outside of Amistad zoning, we're gonna have to look at the whole entire, which we've discussed rewriting the rules anyway. But I have a huge issue with,
And again, if you don't like this, like Commissioner Nettleton said, you can bring it, put an item on the agenda and we can talk about it there.
Yes, I don't believe, I believe this will end right here, and we will get some permits or whatever.
Well, again, I mean,
Yeah.
you have another
Yes.
step if you're wanting to take it on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and the thing is that I just have to fight a little for my customer.
Well, you're
no, I
fine.
understand
You're
that.
gonna be all right.
If you're my customer, I can.
I understand. You're gonna do fine.
Yes.
All right, item 6, we're not gonna take any action on that at all. So let's go to item 7, for discussion, possible action on septic permit for over 10-acre tracts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Thank you.
This I had put on there because, we're starting to have an issue, it used to not be a big issue, but currently, if you're 10 acres, over 10 acres, you don't have to get a license, or a permit to put in a septic. We're starting to get more and more of these ranches being cut up into 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 acre tracts. We're starting to get people to go in and dig holes and put in God knows what, and it's starting to create a problem. We do have the authority to require permits on any septic, no matter what size lot it is. I think we have to send a letter to the state to say that we're gonna require permits, period, or we can move it up to whatever acreage we want, and then we just notify the state that we're going to make that change and require permits. That's what the discussion is gonna be about, is do we want to, this actually has to be approved by Commissioner's Court. This would just simply be a recommendation to Commissioner's Court. So that's what the discussion, so y'all wanna talk about it?
I found it in the book, and there's a lot of misconception. And one of the things it talks about the construction and inspection of a system. And I can probably get a copy of this. I should have got it with you prior. It says, no planning materials, permit, inspection are required on a on-site sewage facility for a single, and that's a key word, single-family dwelling located on a tract of land that is 10 acres or larger. Single-family dwelling. That's the problem that we're running into, because a lot of what's happening in the county, we have these hunt camps. And that's not a single-family dwelling. That's not where they get their mail. That's not their residence. That is where their recreational spot, their second home. So they need to pull a permit by what's already wrote. But everybody has that misconception, oh, it's over 10 acres. It says on-site sewage that's not causing nuisance or flooding groundwater, okay? So if I have a single-family residence, I'm living out here over 10 acres, and I'm not causing a problem, I don't have to pull a permit. All parts of it are at least 100 feet away from property line, not a problem. influence is disposed on the property. Yes, it is. We talked about that a while ago.
But who's gonna determine those?
Exactly.
If you don't have a permit? Who
Exactly.
determines if you're not a threat?
Exactly. That's the problem, that it's so misleading, because everybody, all they see is, oh, it says 10 acres. But they're not reading fine. The single-family dwelling is the only dwelling located on the tract of land. And the main kicker is single-family dwelling.
I see.
So, with that being said, what the other counties, and Joanna apparently made a map of the counties and the permit fees. There's a guy named Charles McDonald. He represents 5 or 6 counties. Down in Crystal City, a guy out of Uvalde represents Crystal City, Denman, and Zavala, as the DR. They do not recognize this, and I think it's number 10. So basically, everybody pulls a permit, everybody has to have the license to operate to get their power. That's the problem we're having. A lot of these people get power turned on, and then they go do whatever they want. We just left a site that a guy was digging a hole to put a 55-gallon drum in, out on Hamilton Lane. There's a lot more recreational property now. You're taking ranches that were 6,000 acres, and they're being cut up. We're doing a subdivision right now that they're doing 40-acre tracts. So when you have 1,000 acres, you've got that many.
God knows what.
Yes. There is a way to go about it to make it happen. It's a lengthy process. It has to go in front of the county commissioners. It has to be sent to the state. The state has to approve it and send it back. And then it'll be in the state rules that we do not recognize a 10-acre rule. And so anybody can look it up online. I think the more and more that we're seeing the subdivision, I think it's also a good way to know who's got what where when it comes to taxing. Whether it be Box Canyon and they take a single wide out, the book says if you add on repair, you have to pull a permit. So if you have to pull a permit and you take a single wide out that's worth $10,000 and you put in a $40,000, $80,000 double wide, it needs to go in accordance with the tax.
I think there are some instances, and I've had an issue with this for a long time. There are some lots right along San Felipe Creek that are a little over 10-acre tracts that people are just putting in whatever they want because they don't have to pull a permit, which nobody is to determine. In my opinion, that is a complete jeopardy to our water source. That needs something. I do have concerns about just doing away with it completely. I think on your larger 1,000, 2,000 acre tracts, I think we need to relook at it, but I think we're going to have to do something. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4. In the last 5 years, there's been 5 ranches cut up in tracts of no less than 75 acres. And there's houses and stuff everywhere.
A lot of the ranchers I deal with that have over 1,000, 2,000 acres, when we do something, they've even asked, Billy, pull a permit. What's it cost? $150. Oh, that ain't nothing. You know, they want to have a record of it. I had a customer the other day. We were on about a 2,500, 3,000 acre piece of property in Sutton County. And the first thing the guy told me straight up was, oh, don't worry about that book. And I said, well, where you're at, you have a DR, we have to pull a permit. Oh, no, we don't have to do that. We're this big. Kept on, and finally I excused myself and told him that, I could not do his, And about a month and a half went by, we wound up doing the work and pulled the permit. So even though there are some landowners that, this guy, it was a second ranch, he lived in Houston, it was a recreational. He has no regard to our groundwater, he has no regard to nothing.
I think we need to do something. I don't know what that something is, but we need to do something.
Where's the limit?
Are we gonna do a limit or just period, everybody gets a permit?
Yeah, it's one or the other. If you're gonna
And
do
I
a
don't even know if
limit,
you can change the limit, or you just either do the 10-acre rule, or you do everything. You can change the limit.
do minimum 2 sections. Anything over 2 sections of land, that's fine.
And I understand Billy's concern, because let's say you get up on the Devil's River and a guy's got a 5,000-acre ranch and he decides to build a house right down there overlooking the river,
No, of
100
course he
yards
is.
from the river, and he puts in a septic tank, and
Yeah.
that's where
Yeah.
he digs a hole in the ground. So, I mean, I get the
Yeah,
concern.
you know, it's just like we had the one at Box Canyon, where the guy, we did the aerobic, classic example of what I'm talking about right here. We did the aerobic system, he had a single wide and a place to park his boat. We got everything to fit. We met all the setbacks, we got it worked. As soon as we got done, he ripped the single wide out, put a double wide. Of course, the double wide had to go where the spray area was, so he took those out, and put a faucet over next door on county property because it was a designated road. He put a faucet and a hose and let it go into the lake. The Park Service picked up on it, and I do not, to this day, know if anything was ever done. Are you familiar with that one? I know it was turned in to the county attorney, and the Park Service jumping straight up down, put the trailers there, and they still have power.
Now, our checks and balances on this is if we change the rule, then I guess it goes to the electric providers, and they won't give it without that. They won't hook up your electricity without that.
Right.
Now, what about instances where you're adding, you would just do a non-compliance if you're adding a meter for like a water well or something like that? That would just be.
Yeah, I think livestock, and that's where part of the.
That's my concern,
Yeah.
is going, you know, if you want to drill a water well and put in a meter for it, they don't want to have to jump through a whole bunch of things.
Well, and we've already run through that already,
Mhm.
that there's rules already set in place for that.
Or,
For livestock exemption, for ag exemption, we're dealing with that right now in Escondido. That one lady that keeps wanting power out there.
she came in with paperwork from over there and she got it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but she's been,
For over a year.
before the previous,
Yeah.
before you got here with the previous one, it was a couple of years, which that exception's always been there.
But as long as we got those coverages, I'm fine. I mean, I agree we need to do something. This is starting. Years ago, it wasn't a big issue because everybody had 10, 20,000 acre ranches and they had one house with a septic and that was the
Just
end
have
of it.
everybody pull a permit.
Yeah. I was really surprised when I started doing some stuff out of the county, Kenny County, up in Rock Springs, Sonora. Those are large counties, and they're, of course, they still have some that are bootlegged to put in.
We
But,
can't catch all of them.
Yeah, and I think it's well needed and whatever it takes to get it done. One of the things I also, a while ago we talked about this when you were talking about the double fee. And that's part of what, when somebody brings in a building permit, the health department asks them for, where's your septic going? Because we've run across this before, there's been a building permit issued, and then all of a sudden, no, you can't build because you don't have enough room for your septic. Well, you gave me the building permit, but now my septic doesn't fit. Fees. I ran across this by mistake.
Shouldn't read so much.
Yeah.
Bad for your eyes.
Make your hair
Bad
fall
for your
out.
eyes.
Make your hair fall out.
It says application fee for on-site sewage facility permit is $200 for an on-site sewage serving a single family dwelling and $400 for all other types. A $10 fee shall be collected on each OSF permit for the commission as required by the Texas Health and Safety Code. The fees are payable when the owner's agent,
Okay.
and so forth. They also talk about the reinspection fee. And they talk about it should be equal to half the permit fee.
And my question is this, can we override those fees and go higher? Apparently, some counties have, so.
Yes, yeah, you can go higher, but you can't go less. You know, this book
What
is,
is our current fee?
We charge, $150 for residential, $300 for commercial.
And that residential wouldn't matter if you're in Pandale or Pumpdale or where the heck it's at. So you really need a fee structure that works, because if you're driving all the way to Pandale to do an inspection, it's gonna take you all freaking day.
oh yeah, the fees and,
Why do you need a septic tank in Pandale Ranch?
I gotta,
You're having all your own water.
that ain't right. I got a guy call me the other day wanting to put cabins up there.
No, there's actually a lot of stuff going on up there.
Yeah.
Well, that one of them, right?
Yeah.
In Ranch.
Is that where those 40-acre tracks, is that the one you're talking
No,
about?
no, we're doing some right now up at Rock Springs here.
That,
But,
one of the questions that I had listening to everybody. You know, the tax department needs to go do their job. You know, if we can help, fine, but it shouldn't be our job to do theirs. I just want to make sure that we don't squash landowner rights if they end up with a bunch of property or end up, you know, I mean, they should still have the right to go do a little bit. I would be I'd be happier if we picked an acreage up to the 10 acres, just with everything that's going on. Hell, we did it. I mean, you tried to stick above the 10 acres, and we don't have to mess with it.
Yeah.
So we need to pick, to me, if you picked an acreage because there's more of it going on, you know, a guy goes out there and puts 9 septic tanks on 1,000 acres or 2,000 acres, shit. I mean, you know, that's just my point.
well, and
But if you go out and put 9 or 10 septic tanks on a 100-acre deal, it's gonna start hurting. You know, I mean, you're gonna be close to each other, you know, and not only that, you brought the thing up around here. I mean, you know, they've done the 10 and 11 acres to get past
Right, exactly.
the deal. And you are, you know, we already got evidently E. coli testing in San Felipe Creek.
Well, there's places out there along San Felipe Creek where there's a damn hole in the ground that ain't 100 yards from the edge of the river.
You know, to me,
That's a huge problem.
going and doing everything, I
Well-
don't think it's a solve-all. I think we're gonna be intrusive. But doing something, I think we all agree that something needs to be done.
well, and yeah, you could set a limit, 2 sections, or you could set a limit on acres, not to step on landowners' rights. I understand that.
No, and I get it.
But from what it's saying right here, when you use that word single-family dwelling, it's basically telling you, if it's your ranch, that's great. If you're building a house for yourself, that's great. But if you build one
To rent.
for the ranch hand or for the deer
that's it,
hunter,
yeah.
that's not even the definition. So we're not really even compliant here. But any start is a better start than nothing. I mean, it can always be later adopted to smaller,
Larger or whatever.
or larger, or whatever. But yeah, I think that there's definitely, I see a lot of Home Depot tanks, these yellow tanks, and 10 joints of pipe in the back of the pickup going out to these subdivisions. And at least they're trying to do something. I've seen some out here where they just basically out of sight, out of mind, and run the pipe through the cedar out there.
And if you don't smell it, it's good.
It ain't there.
Downwind.
Yeah, if you don't see it, it's not there. So yeah, whatever,
That's why 100 acres is not big enough.
Well, I think you're talking 500 to 1,000 acres or something like that. I mean, you
2 sections, what, 1,200 acre?
know,
1,300?
640 acres per section, so.
1,280.
For one section.
Yeah, 640 acres or above 640 acres.
You know, and I understand where you're coming from. It's just that, you know, a guy that get out here and he has 3,000 acres and he wants to build a hunting cabin for his people to come out, and now I'm gonna get out here and
That's
right
my
in the middle of
concern.
this shit.
That's my concern. You know,
Yeah,
if I want to put in
right.
a cabin for my guy, I don't want it to go.
You know, I mean, my
somewhere.
thing is, my concern would be you know, we do, and we can see that people have gone to 10.06, to 10.9, that way they don't have to comply with anything, and they're sitting on top of a creek.
Yeah, that's
Right
the
on.
concern.
And then you get out here, you know, either way you want to go. A bunch of them have found out here close to town, if I go below the 10 acres, it really don't matter, I'm going to make more money selling it per acre than 5 acres. But you get a little bit further out, and they're doing a 50, 40 acre tract, and those people that are coming in from out of town that really don't care about us. But my thing is, we need to protect ourselves and protect everybody around everybody else from contaminating our water source and doing all this. You know, so you're going to have a lot more of those tracks coming up.
There's one out there going up to my ranch. They subdivided 40, 50 acre tracts. And on one track, there's at least 6 little cabins who put on one tract of land. I mean, they're just stacked, just like, looks like a damn hotel.
And we've seen it on Dover. I mean, you know.
I'll give you a prime example of one, and this is in Kenny County. This is the only reason why it wound up the way it wound up. It's on 2523. The old boy's got a deer camp. He had a bunch of trailers. There wasn't any type of sewage system. It just ran off wherever it ran off. The guy builds a nice little lodge. It's an out-of-town contractor out of Houston did that. The contractor calls and talks to Kenny County. They say, yes, you got a full permit to put in a septic system. I go look at the system. I dug test holes. I went and dug test holes twice. Dug down that deep. I hit what they call a restricted horizon, a layer of rock. The book says we can't have an excavation, the bottom of our excavation within 2 foot of that restricted horizon. I got about 3 foot. There's no way to put in a conventional system. It's just not going to work. I told them that. I told them, look, you're going to have to do aerobic. I think that landowner went through 5 or 6 other installers and got the same answer. Because Henry Garcia, the DR, told him, if you don't put in what's proper, I'm not going to permit it, and you're not going to get power. They wound up getting an engineer firm out of Austin to tell them the same thing I told them. The firm was out of Houston, and they got an installer out of Austin to come in and put a aerobic system just like what they originally started with 3 months prior to the fact. And the only reason it was done right was because they had rules that said you have to do it this way. If it wasn't for that, the sewage would have went right back to the same spot it was going before. So they upgraded. They didn't like it, but it was part of what Kenny County requires. So, yeah, I mean, there's bound to be something we can do. So, yeah, I guess.
How big was that place? Thousands?
Oh, yeah.
In those cases, everybody pulls a permit.
Yeah, I mean,
The problem is you can't pick and choose. I mean, because then REA or whoever's doing power is not going to know which one's which.
Yeah, exactly.
You either do it all or you set a number or, you know.
Not being blind. Your example of, I've got 50,000 acres and I want to go build right next to the river and have no direction, no regulation, and I don't care.
But I'm also, you know, I mean, I also don't want to get to the point where we can't do anything on our ranches because everything's such a nightmare to get it done either.
correct. No, that's understandable.
You know.
And I've dealt with some of that, where I've been through the permit process in Kerrville and done some septics up there on some upper end stuff. We've done stuff down south for Anadarko oil and some other stuff. And yeah, of course, the book's pretty clear of you got so many days to do it, and if you can't get her done, I can cover up. I had an incident in down south towards Laredo for Anadarko where we put in a system, and Laredo told me that, I think the book says we have 5 days. We ask for an inspection and we don't get it in 5 days. We can cover up. So I think it was 4.5 days, maybe 4 3/4, maybe 5 days. I covered up. And then about the 7th or 8th day, when they came out to inspect, they said, "You covered it up." I said, "Sure did. Here it says in the book." It's pretty detailed, and it tries not to make it hard on the landowners. It tries to give them, and I don't know how, there's got to be a lot more than just changing it. I know that Charles McDonald, the DR that covers those counties, he says, yeah, by the time you do the amendment, and you got to send it to the state, and you got to have a public hearing. And when you have the public hearing, that can squash stuff. Who knows? But I know at the rate we're going with these ranches being subdivided, it's starting to turn into an issue.
No, I think it's a problem. I mean, we've taken that area out by the lake, and by the time it completely develops out, we'll have probably over 4,000 septic tanks up, which is a huge long-term problem. But I mean, they have to permit it. It is what it is. But I mean, yeah, it's a long-term problem. But I agree with the judge. We need to be cautious. I think we need to cover these 40, 50, 60, 80 acre tracts and shit like that. But then once we get beyond that, I don't know if we don't need to have a longer discussion.
And I don't know if you could use terminology on subdivided ranches. Maybe there is terminology that you can put in there that once a ranch is subdivided for recreational use, or I don't know, but that
the whole thing behind something like that is you make it more complicated. It needs to be this
or not.
Yeah, if you're going to do all, then you do all. If you're going to do one section with 640, then you do one section, and you're just done.
Yeah, because otherwise it gets complicated.
But we all agree that something needs to happen. I mean,
I wonder if it would be worth the time and trouble to send out letters or talk to some of the larger landowners and see what their take is. I mean, because they've got every bit just as much.
Well, I'm sure when we get to the public hearing, we'll get plenty of people show up for that.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, this commission can't do anything. It has to go to the
Right, it's
commissioner's
gotta go.
court. But, maybe what we do is we put an item on the agenda and start the discussion about what we want to do. And then the court can start making some decisions about, starting to look down that road, and
Yeah.
then we can kind of go from there. Those are the only counties that require everything?
No, those are.
That's just the ones that are around us that require.
I called 2 other counties in there. I called.
In Crockett, what do they do? They don't, you don't know? Crockett County?
No, I don't. I just called.
Okay. Kenny, what does Kenny do?
Right.
Yeah, but what do? They require everybody?
Yes.
They require everybody.
Kenny County is really a little different because the city of Brackettville
Mm-hmm.
and Spofford that are in Kenny County,
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of like the city of Del Rio. Those two entities, you have to get Laredo office to come out and inspect. Everything we do is through Laredo.
So they don't have a DR,
They have a DR.
but they still make TZQ do it?
For Brackettville and Spofford,
Okay.
anybody out of those city limits in Kenny County,
Mhm.
Henry Garcia, the DR, does the inspection.
Why the hell don't they do that?
They don't have agreement apparently with the county.
I just think there needs to be a balance, and I can see doing it all that way. There's no more confusion. I can see that part.
Yeah.
Shit, we're gonna be running all over the county where a ranch that has 4,000 acres and now wants to. And I understand what you just brought up on the books, a single family dwelling, and it is in the book.
Yeah. And that's why the rates need to be upped.
Yeah, if you're gonna drive all the way to Pandale to do an inspection, you ain't gonna do it for $150. It'll cost
You know,
money to drive over.
I don't know how many permits I've pulled, but I guarantee you,
And there-
if I just bumped it up $50 for every one, I'd probably have a hard time
And
writing
there's
a
your
check.
prime example, right there. It's right there at the river in Pandale. They've got a whole bunch of little cabins, and they're all within 100 yards of the damn river. I don't know if they have, what they have for septic, if they have,
Right.
or if they have anything, to be honest with you. But there's literally 5 or 6 cabins within 100 yards of the damn Pecos River.
I've been doing this for a while, and I think I've only put in 3 or 4 in Vandale. Now, I do get phone calls about putting some in.
But that whole area up there along the river has been cut up in 20, 40, 60 acre tracts. And I mean, they literally are parking trailers within 100 yards. I don't know what the hell's going to happen when we get a flood. We'll pick them up at the time, I guess. But
It would be nice if if y'all come up with a suggestion, a recommendation. And what we'll do is, we'll put 2 items on the agenda. If y'all will put 2 items on the agenda, one, to look at the permit fee, what that fee is going to be, and then the other one, in order to set a septic tank permit, they're required for what size land, or, something to that effect. But if y'all come up with a recommendation, would be great.
I'd like to start in a section, and then we can kind of look at it as time goes by. But at least anything up to 640 acres requires a permit. That's my personal opinion. For the start, and then if we need to look at it again, we'll look at it again. And then y'all get all the stuff for what it's going to require us to jump through all these hoops with TECQ to get it done, because we're going to need that for commission.
Because the permit, the fee, we can do it.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can.
that's-
Wednesday.
Yeah, y'all can start it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the $10 that goes to wherever, Neverland. I mean,
I didn't realize they
Oh,
did
no.
that already.
Auditor sends it to TCQ on a quarterly basis.
And they track all that, or y'all track
Yes,
all
we
that,
have
or?
copies of everything, and then when TCQ comes to audit us, we show them copies of that as well.
Yeah, we show them what
Where
we're
do they get
supposed
it $10?
to be taking care.
I'm sorry?
Why did they get $2? For doing what?
for being your big brother.
What exactly are they
Big
doing?
brother needs a pair of shoes too. You know?
Send Billy another book.
I'm sitting
My name's Bill Whaley, and you? And are you still doing that commissioner thing?
$10.
Like, what the hell they get $10 for? Jesus. Well, do y'all want to make a recommendation to the court?
I think with what was said from Judge Owens, that we need to come up with a little bit more info and maybe have another meeting, like what we just had, and come up with something, then we can, petition to
Yeah, that's
the
fine.
commissioners.
Y'all don't want to start at something and then we could always work our way up? Because
We can
this
do
is
that.
going to be a damn process that
Okay,
after we say this, it's still going to take a long
Yeah.
time. And
Okay,
between
well,
there
then-
and now, we're probably going to change our minds anyway.
well then, yeah, let's put it on the agenda.
What acreage, or what do y'all want? Everything, or set an acreage? I'll entertain a motion one way or the other.
I know what you want.
Where do you get, where is that break, I mean, where's that point to where, if you're gonna buy this many acres, well, you have enough money to afford to put in a septic system? Where do you get to where you don't have enough money, so you're circumventing and, one of these type deals? I think that's what it boils down to.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's 5 acres or 1,000,000 acres. There's always one guy out there who's
It's
gonna
just
try
like the one
to
in
get
Suffolk
around the
County the
deal.
other day, they
You know,
tried
it's
to
a-
go around the deal.
It's the same issue on these driveway permits.
You had plenty of money to get it done.
We don't wanna
right
jump
away.
through all the hoops, so let me figure it out later, and then, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
That exists, it doesn't matter, there is no acreage.
Or
It is what
a
it
dollar value of an.
is. 90% of the people will do whatever you tell them to do and do it right, but there's 10% that are gonna figure out how to skirt the edge, and it just is what it is. So, you can't set a number based off of that, because it just is what it is. So, But I have concerns about getting into a nightmare with these larger ranches and stuff. There's a point out there in Valverde where you have a legitimate agriculture operation, and then there's a point where you just have a recreation end. And usually if you're a section or above, you're probably more agriculture than you are recreation. But as you
You
see,
think a section is.
as you see these ranches change, I mean, there's 150,000 acres just got sold and it's all recreation. They ain't never gonna do shit with it, recreation.
So would y'all be okay recommending to start off with one section and let the court figure out what
Yeah.
they're doing?
It's a starting point.
Yeah,
So,
I'll entertain a motion.
a line in the sand.
I'll entertain a motion. And then we'll see how the public hearing goes, and everybody may come in and say we want it all, I don't know.
yeah.
And I agree, because we have the Devil's River to protect, the Pecos River to protect, San Felipe Creek to protect, we don't have Los Morris, but you have, the one out
Mud
here.
Creek?
Mud Creek, the one
Pinto.
going into Kenny County,
No,
Yeah.
the big one, I can't remember.
Sycamore?
And there's a lot of those that need to be protected.
You make a motion?
Yeah, I made a motion for at least a section.
Okay. Do I have a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. So we'll make that recommendation to the court, and then we'll, start the process. Y'all get us everything for Commissioner's Court on the process for that next one? Okay? All right, what did we miss?
Minutes,
We did that already.
did we?
Yeah.
Okay.
We went through all of them? Okay. And this meeting is adjourned.